What they're talking about is an iPhone app, probably for America, that had little slogans you could put on your on pictures, like "I'm with Mint." I think great and a little fragrant. Well, have you been on San Francisco public transit? It's fragrant as well. Very fragrant. Yeah. And San Francisco, because it's so hilly, relies on a lot more buses. We just don't have the underground infrastructure that a big city like New York has. So it's a lot of fun.
And got sideways with another car, and it was really sad. But what was it, George? He broke his neck and his arm in two places. Is that right? Am I right on that?
Yeah, I believe he broke his left arm in two places, and he fractured his seat.
Trying to detect planets transiting their suns, right? So the distant stars also have planets going around them in Venus rotates much more slowly in an opposite direction, such that its day is much longer than the year. In other words, it takes Venus longer to rotate around than it does for Venus to orbit the sun. But yeah, the very thick atmosphere and
magnetic field, and that way the charged particles and the magnetic field get deflected away, and so we're protected here on the surface. But since Venus doesn't have a magnetic field, only the atmosphere will stop it from getting extra radiation from solar flares, and a coronal mass ejection would not be deflected like
affects atmospheres when it impacts it.
Well, speaking of solar flares, you actually had a chance, SGO had a chance to see a solar flare happen before Venus actually crossed the disk of the sun. Tell us about that.
Yeah, but there is a shadow involved. It just doesn't reach us.
Excuse me, I have to flip the paper here. So, okay, next question we have is Venus the only planet that transits the sun that we can see? Which we've kind of answered that question. Which we have.
Yeah,
Mercury.
the answer is Mercury. Yeah, because when you think about it, you have to look at the planets that we can see that are between us and the sun, and there's solar flares that are often more associated with coronal mass ejections and filament eruptions that Holly was talking about.
And we have another question from our fans. Is Venus transiting just one edge of the sun or the whole sun?
Well, if you're watching the feed, you'll see it that it hit one limb of the sun, and it will transit across, and then in about an hour and a half, it will actually hit the other side of the sun. So both limbs will be transited. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it makes sense to us.
What's important is, if you're observing with SDO, you're sitting out sort of in front of the Earth, and so you see this somewhat, basically a line moving across. And if we have these special telescope mounts called equatorial mounts that compensate for the motion of, for example, the Earth, then we see this sort of straight motion across. But if you're looking at it
and I'm already stewing in my head about all these great things I could be doing, how I could make events like this better next time, and how we can go away with this with a really good learning experience.
And I like to talk about all the events that you do. I mean, you travel.
I to talk to here, but pretty much once we start getting people lined up and looking through, everybody comes to look through, and people are so amazed looking through the eyepiece. I mean, it's something that's happening in real time. It's very large, it's very bright, and it's very active. And so once you
I got a question for you, and this is, I mean, you may not want to answer this, but we'll have to see. Do you by chance happen to have a secret room like Tony Stark does? You have your own lab. You have your own lab downstairs where you're just sitting there tinkering with
Welcome back to continuing live coverage of the Transit of Venus 2012. We're here. Enjoyed the transit. Just make sure that you visit our website at www.nasa.gov/NASA.
Hey, welcome back to NASA Edge. We're here on top of Mauna Kea, right outside the NASA IRTF, or the Infrared Space Telescope, and we are just about to get to third. So look at the kids. The kids are back to being, elementary school students enjoying third and fourth contact. So it's.
Don't let Alex and Shirley.
Come on, Holly.
We're on outside the NASA IRTF, and.
This is so much better than the scientific bickering we see sometimes when theorems are thrown out there and slide rules are broken. Very nice to see all the harmony and the good fellowship among the scientific community. Love this.
Lovely to have all of that beauty to behold.
And can you imagine, we've been here for a long time, and if you look at, I'm not looking at the sun, I'm looking away, but there's clouds.
Opportunity to be up here and have the chance to do that.
And it makes you go back, Lou, to your quote that you said earlier today, whatever, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours ago, about from the U.S. Naval Observatory, about what would the transit be like in 2004. So would you care to say to the public, how would you add on to that quote at the end?
Well,
the new quote.
The transit,
this could be the
transit for
quote.
2117. I think that we can't imagine any more than,
Because there's that blindness that you have.
That's true.
initially,
I just
so you
hope
want to make sure you see it.
I hope when it happens, I'm not in Jabba's hut. So.
we've lost our way on this webcast.
So we have actually
Right on the edge there.
Almost off.
There you go.
All right. We are in egress now.
We did have a question about ingress and egress, what that means.
Quick calculation in my head with parallax today, and I came out to be about just under 93 million miles is my distance from the Earth to the Sun. So hopefully I did okay.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The other thing that was kind of cool was that
That's amazing. Might also have to have a
Is
meeting.
That must be in Blair miles, huh? Yeah. So.
Now, another number we haven't mentioned here, I think I've got the right number, but you all correct me. I think the number is 547. Is that the number of days that it takes Venus to catch up again with the Earth? Right? Something like
that. It's
pretty
about
close.
20 minutes of Earth and Venus.
I can hear the drum beat now.
It's way cool.
Yeah, it is way cool.
That's why the transits are 8 years apart, of course. Yeah, too.
I thought he would bring it for Lou. I took his microphone.
Lou doesn't have a jacket.
Loose jacket. There you go.
We going to sing a Venus song?
I just don't want Lou to.
Less than 8 minutes to fourth
Lou
contact.
cannot freeze.
Telescope to say, do you have anything to tell us right away? And of course they didn't, because usually you need to go back and look